Take a look. This is the work of the corrupt College Football Playoff Committee. For many of us, it's still unfathomable, unbelievable that Florida State was left out of the College Football Playoff. The committee choosing to put in Alabama over the Seminoles despite Florida State being an undefeated Power 5 conference champion, despite beating LSU in the regular season and Florida at the end of the season, a road win against Clemson, winning the ACC championship over a top 15 team. It became a battle for the committee to decide between who the best four teams were, in their eyes, versus the most deserving four teams. This is a group of people, guys, a committee that doesn't know football, a committee that does not have any explanations, good reasoning for their actions, a committee that said Oregon was ranked higher than Texas at one point because Bo Nix had a good completion percentage, a committee that at one point said Liberty got the Fiesta Bowl berth from the group of 5 teams because, quote, the Flames just continued to win with the weakest strength of schedule in the country. Florida State also continued to win and yet did not get put in. Many of us are still reeling and in shock from what happened, but bottom line is, sadly, there's nothing we can do about it. This is the hand we were dealt. This is the College Football Playoff. Michigan, Alabama, Washington, Texas. These are your New Year's 6 bowl games. And today, guys, we're here to briefly preview each of these 6 games. Not predicting them. Brief previews. We'll predict them as we get closer to time, but these are some of the best games on the docket for this college football postseason. So let's go ahead and dive right on into it. But as always, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share the videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including our holiday special where we're going to give you the spread picks for every single one of these games, every single college football bowl game, and every NFL playoff game, guys, for one of the lowest prices in the entire country. It's well over 50, 60 picks for one of the lowest prices in the country. We want you to take advantage of it and start winning big with us today over at thegridironexpert.com. So let's take a look up here. Michigan versus Alabama in the Rose Bowl. That is your first playoff semifinal. Both those set to be played on New Year's Day. This is an interesting game. Obviously, many believe it should have been Michigan and Florida State. Many believe that. Alabama ultimately getting that final spot. The committee valuing, I guess, their win over Georgia and the fact that Alabama is fully healthy more so than Florida State. But this game, guys, is going to be a lot of fun. Should be very, very close. It's the 4th bowl meeting all time between Michigan and Alabama. The Crimson Tide winning the 2020 Citrus Bowl, and then Michigan winning the classic 2000 Orange Bowl, led by a guy named Tom Brady. So this is going to be a very fun game to watch. Michigan, though, they're not happy. Their reward for getting the number 1 seed in the playoff is facing a good Alabama team that just knocked off the previous number 1 team in the country, led by one of the greatest, if not the greatest, head coach of all time, and Nick Saban, who now has a full month to prepare for you. So if you go back and watch Michigan's reaction when they saw they were playing Alabama, they're not too thrilled about that. So the question now in this Rose Bowl game is, can Michigan get over the hump? The last 2 years, the Wolverines have made the college football playoff, but have failed to win in the semifinals. They've gotten bounced the last 2 years, once to Georgia and then last year to TCU. How does Michigan's number 1 defense in the country fare against Jalen Milroe and this Alabama offense that has found themselves really since the last 2 months? They struggled at the beginning of the year, including that loss to Texas, but have been on fire really ever since. Also, which Bama shows up? Are we going to see the Alabama team that knocked off Georgia, or are we going to see the Alabama team that needed a miracle against Auburn a week prior? Which Alabama team shows up? Which one, do they come in and play a clean game of football? Do they take care of the ball? Or do they struggle against this very strong Michigan defense? This is going to be a very fun game. It'll be one of the, I think, better games of the entire postseason. Winner goes on to the national championship to face off against the winner of Washington and Texas in the Sugar Bowl. And this one is going to be fantastic as well. I think a lot of people might be forgetting. Last year, guys, Washington and Texas played in the Alamo Bowl. It's crazy to think that the Alamo Bowl last year was a preview of a playoff semifinal match the very next year. Washington beat Texas last year 27-20 in that bowl game. Honestly, a game that, to me, was not nearly as close as the final score indicated. Washington was in control of that game for the majority of it. And now we've got a rematch, and these two teams are much stronger and much better than they were last year. Great battle between 2 quarterbacks. Michael Penix of Washington, Quinn Ewers of Texas. Steve Sarkisian, the head coach at Texas, facing off against his former team. He coached at Washington from 2009 to 2013. An interesting side note here as well, Washington, the higher seed, but having to travel a lot further than Texas. Washington having to travel all the way to New Orleans to take on Texas in the Sugar Bowl. So it's a long way to go. Texas certainly going to have more fans there in theory. Going to have a bit of a home field advantage in New Orleans as compared to Washington. And remember, I like this a lot. Texas, a few years ago, they upset Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. That was when Sam Ehlinger got up there and said, "We're back." Can Texas really be back now? How poetic would it be for Texas to win this game, go to the national championship just a few years after Ehlinger proclaimed that the Longhorns were back following their upset win over the Bulldogs? Either way, guys, this is going to be a very, very fun game. Again, a very close game, I believe. And one of these teams is going to be playing for their first national title in years. Washington, if they win, they will be playing in their first national championship since 1991. If Texas wins this game, they will be in the national championship for the first time since 2009. So one very, very long drought will come to an end at the end of the night on New Year's Day. So those are your two playoff semifinal matchups, guys. It's going to be great. That's another thing, whether you believe Florida State should have been in or not, you can discuss that down in the comments, but I think most of us can agree Florida State would have struggled against Michigan. They would have struggled against Washington or Texas or whoever it may have been. These two games are, to me, going to be very competitive, very close, probably going to give us better matchups than if Florida State had been in, even though I do believe they deserved their shot. I do believe they do, or should have had their shot, but I don't think they would compete as well as these four teams here. Other New Year's Six bowl games, quick hitters, Missouri and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. I love this game. Love this matchup down in the Cotton Bowl. This is a massive, massive game for the Tigers, now in their first ever New Year's Six bowl game. 10-2 under Eli Drinkwitz this year. Got a great, great offense. Brady Cook, Schrader at running back, Luther Burden at wide receiver. This is a good offense from Mizzou. Ohio State, you look at them. Are they going to be motivated? We start entering bowl season now, and we got to deal with all this crap about motivation, and we got to deal with players opting out, all that BS. It's ridiculous, and I hate it, but that's just the way college football is right now. So Ohio State, are they motivated? They lost to Michigan. They missed out on their shot. This is just another bowl game for the Buckeyes. You're going to see a handful of guys opt out for Ohio State, namely probably Marvin Harrison Jr., who's projected to be a top 3 NFL draft pick come April, so he probably will sit out of this game. So you've got a fun offensive battle between the Tigers and the Buckeyes, two very, very solid defenses as well. Missouri is certainly going to be more motivated, but across the board, these two teams very evenly matched. Should be a very fun New Year's Six bowl game. Number 11, Ole Miss. Number 10, Penn State. Two teams that cannot get over the hump. That's what I view this battle as. These are two teams that over the last few years have had very successful seasons, but have not been good enough to win their own division to get to the college football playoff. It's funny how the committee chose to do this, how they paired them up against each other. But we talk about fun quarterback battles, right? Washington, Texas is going to be a fun quarterback battle. What about the running back battle? What about the running game for Ole Miss? Guys like Quinshawn Judkins versus Penn State's Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Assuming that all those guys choose to play, that's going to create for a very intriguing matchup. I do believe Penn State owns the defensive edge in this game. But will that do anything against Lane Kiffin and his offensive firepower? That's really something to watch out for here. Obviously, opt-outs could play a major role in what happens in the Peach Bowl. But these are two teams that are really trying to get a massive victory and carry some momentum into 2024, where maybe they can get over the hump. Maybe they can't. Remains to be seen. But Ole Miss, if they win this game, they'll clinch their first ever 11-win season. First 11-win season in program history, while Penn State, if they win this game, they'll get another 11-win season back-to-back. They'll get their second straight New Year's Six bowl win, and it would actually be the Nittany Lions' fourth New Year's Six bowl victory under James Franklin in 10 years with the program, which in all honesty ain't too bad. I know it's frustrating missing out in the playoff, but winning those New Year's Six bowl games is pretty dang impressive too. How about number 6, Georgia, number 5, Florida State? This is like the NIT championship game. That's what this is. Coming into Selection Sunday, there were 4 teams fighting for 2 spots. Georgia, Florida State, Alabama, and Texas. Those 4 teams were fighting it out for the final 2 spots. And these were the 2 teams that got left out. These were the first 2 teams out. Top 4, number 5, number 6. So ultimately, guys, who's going to want to win this game? Where is the motivation here? Who sits out of this game? I can see both these teams kind of viewing this as another meaningless bowl game. Georgia loaded with NFL talent. You expect a lot of guys to sit out of this game, no doubt about it. Florida State, though, you could argue they're more motivated, right? You could see Mike Norvell getting his team hyped, getting them ready to go, being like, look, the committee robbed us. We were angry. Let's go out there and prove a point against Georgia. I could see a very similar TCU, motivation here. Back in 2014, TCU getting left out of the college football playoff. What did they do? They torched, annihilated Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. It was kind of a statement from the Horned Frog saying, we should have been in. Maybe Florida State does the same, but obviously they're not going to have Jordan Travis. So can Tate Rodemaker really come in there and torch this Georgia team whose second string is probably good enough to start at a good amount of programs across the country. So that's something to really watch out for. Where's the motivation? Is Florida State angry, ready to prove a point, or are they down and upset on their luck? Can a Florida State offense without Jordan Travis really score enough against Georgia? I mean, they struggle enough against Louisville. Will they really do anything against Georgia? So very intriguing Orange Bowl matchup here. There's a lot of intangibles that we can't predict. We can't predict motivation. We can't predict opt-outs right now. We just don't know. So any other years would be a fun matchup, but considering these two teams are very upset after missing out in the playoff, it'll be very interesting to see how it all plays out. And finally, guys, the Fiesta Bowl, number 23 Liberty and number 8 Oregon. Again, like we mentioned, the playoff committee goes, we put Liberty into a New Year's Six Bowl game as the highest-ranked Group of 5 champion over SMU, beat out the Mustangs by 1 spot. Why? Liberty just continued to win. They continued to win. And Florida State's like, yeah, we did too. And they're like, yeah, we don't care. Again, the committee, they're incompetent. They're truly incompetent. But no disrespect to Liberty. Liberty's a very, very good program. Caden Slater is phenomenal. He is phenomenal at quarterback. He's been a lot of fun to watch. Dual threat QB. Jamie Chadwell's offense is firing on all cylinders. They can run the ball. They can pass the ball. They're very balanced and very efficient offensively. Defense, though, they're not too solid. They're pretty atrocious defensively. Oregon, on the other hand, again, another classic motivation game here. Will Oregon be motivated? You can bet your money Bo Nix is probably sitting out of this game. So you're going to have an Oregon team turning to their backup quarterback, turning to a lot of backup wide receivers possibly. A defense is going to be down a lot of starters, facing a Liberty team that's looking to go 14-0 in year one under Jamie Chadwell. Looking to pull off the upset in the Fiesta Bowl and get the team's first ever New Year's Six Bowl victory. So motivation for Liberty, sky high. Motivation for Oregon, who missed out on the playoff by 1 game, probably not so much, and they're going to be down a handful of starters. So I think Oregon does have the better team. I think they have the better athletes. That doesn't always translate to a win when it comes to the postseason. So it's going to be a very intriguing game here. Liberty offensively can hang with Oregon. Liberty defensively cannot. But will Oregon be able to take advantage of that? That remains to be seen. So there you go, guys. Those are your New Year's Six Bowl games. Your 2 playoff semifinals, your 4 other New Year's Six Bowl games. Starting, I believe, on December 29th. Going to do 29th, 30th. And then we've got New Year's Day as well. Some fantastic games on the slate. Going to be a lot of fun. Controversial, as many would say. But unfortunately, that was just the hand we were dealt. Going to be some great games regardless, though. And we're genuinely looking forward to it. We'll predict all these games here in the next few weeks. We're going to predict every single college football bowl game right here on the channel. So do not miss out. And also don't miss out on that holiday special down in the description below. Sign up for that. You get every single spread pick for these games. Every spread pick for every bowl game and every spread pick for every NFL playoff game. Go check it out. Sign up for those today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.